Hi guys, good evening. Welcome back once again to the EdWord. I'm your host Eddie, and in tonight's video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on the potential return for a character on FX's The Strain. Now, before I begin, of course, this video will be going into big spoilers regarding the most recent season of The Strain, Season 2, which premiered earlier this summer on FX. So if you are not caught up on The Strain, I advise you to not continue watching or listening to this video, as I will be discussing big spoilers especially regarding the fate of a certain character, the character who I will be primarily talking about in this video tonight, and whether or not he may return. So you have been warned, so watch and listen at your own caution. So earlier in this season, we saw Gus and the Sun Hunters, which is the more civilized Strigoi, the ones who wear the Black Ops military gear attire, and they're called the Sun Hunters. They serve the Ancients. Gus allies himself with them to destroy the Master, and their leader, Vaun, the main Sun Hunter, the one who's training Gus in the art of fighting Strigoi properly, they come up with a plan to kidnap Eldritch Palmer, the head of the Stoneheart group, and the main human collaborator with the Master. And so their plan is to infiltrate his building and kidnap him. Unfortunately, things go wrong, and Palmer is well prepared for Strigoi attack, and he has UV lights in his office, which unfortunately begin to cook Vaun and the other Sun Hunters. Gus, of course, being human, is not affected by this, but several of the Sun Hunters are killed right away by the UV lights, the sudden bright lights that start cooking them to death, where Vaun and the other surviving Sun Hunters all fall into this pit that suddenly appears in the floor, this big hole that appears in the floor, and they all start to slowly burn and cook to death. Gus tries to reach out and save his Strigoi allies, but Vaun tells him to run, as he is still needed to win this fight, and he tells him to get out of there and just save himself. So Gus is forced to leave Vaun and the other Sun Hunters behind, and that is the last we see of them throughout the entire season. Now, what I'm curious about, what this video is titled, is will Vaun return for Season 3? Because we didn't actually see him die. It's heavily implied that he died, but at the same exact time, as soon as Gus cleared Palmer's office and got in the elevator, Palmer could have had his security shut off the UV lights and intercepted and captured Vaun and the remaining Sun Hunters, and perhaps turned them over as prisoners to Eichhorst and the Master. Now, that possibility is never discussed, and like I said, we never actually see Vaun physically die. We see him burning and dying in the UV lights, but we don't actually see his death, like no death rattle or anything, like ugh. We don't actually see him die. So this led me to think and to speculate, could he have survived, and if he did, when could he return? So the show was already renewed for a third season, which is great. I'm looking forward to it, as we all are. But it does lead me to wonder about what the possibility is. Now, I was reading about Vaun, and as it turns out, this is a character who was created specifically for the TV series, because originally the producers wanted to name him Quinlan, which is the name of the Sun Hunter who basically takes Vaughn's place. He comes to New York City. He lets the Ancients know that he's going to hunt and kill the Master for reasons of his own, eventually allies himself with Gus, the Silver Angel, and Satrakian and Fett towards the end of Season 2. And he basically takes Vaughn's place as the leader of the Sun Hunters. And most of the Sun Hunters are also dead, so that really leaves Gus and a big gang of former inmates whom Gus served time with, the same guys that he and Silver Angel helped break out of prison that's been overrun by Strigoi. So basically, there are no more Strigoi Sun Hunters, but I think they still keep the name. Quinlan and Gus and the rest of the guys keep that name. But Quinlan returns, and apparently he's a character. I'm not familiar with the graphic novels that much, but he is a character from the graphic novels who is a sun hunter, and he is the bastard son of the master. The master had raped and impregnated Quinlan's mother, and as a result, Quinlan was the result, and as a result, he is a human Strigoi hybrid. And that's why he's able to stay out in the daylight a little bit longer than most Strigoi. That's why he's more human-like than Vaun was, and that's why his demeanor and his manner are so much more civilized than the other Sun Hunters were. But he's still at bottom line. He's still a Strigoi. He's called. That's it. He's called the Unborn. That's what he's referred to as, the Unborn. That's his nickname. His real name is Quinlan. So Quinlan basically took Vaughn's spot, and the most he mentions about Vaun is when he tells Gus, "Did Vaun ever tell? Did Vaun ever tell you who trained him?" Referring to himself, of course. So I think we can assume. I think we can assume that Quinlan is probably here to fulfill Vaughn's role in the seeking out and destroying the Master for the Ancients, or in this case, for his own personal reasons. However, I think the possibility remains that Vaun could very well return to the Strain next season, because as we saw towards the end of this season, one of Stoneheart Group's construction sites was being turned into like this enormous slaughterhouse of some kind, or if not a slaughterhouse, some kind of building that had a lot of fences or cages or something, and it just gave the impression of like a butcher workshop or something like that, where they'll probably bring human victims, to turn them into Strigoi, or just suck them dry of their life and their blood. And I thought the location itself looked ideal for keeping prisoners as well, which may or may not include Vaun and the other Sun Hunters. And if all the other Sun Hunters died and it was just Vaun who was left, I would be okay with that. In fact, if Vaun was to return to the Strain, I think it would look really cool if he had some nasty, icky scars on his face. Specifically his forehead, where where he was really, really badly burnt by the UV lights in Palmer's office. So I think it would be really cool if we saw Vaun return. I may just be chasing a wild goose here, but I think that's entirely possible. He could return next season. And maybe if he does die, we'll actually see his actual death scene. But because they didn't show us his actual death scene and they just implied it, I think keeps the door open to the possibility he may return. He may return, and at first we'll see him as a prisoner of the Master and of Eichhorst, and he'll either escape or he'll either be rescued by Gus or Satrakian and his allies, or something like that. And he'll break free of being the Master's prisoner and resume the fight against the Master and the other Strigoi. But at the same time, Vaun could very well be dead, and Quinlan has taken his place now that he has been adapted from the graphic novels into the television series. But I don't know, guys. What do you guys think? Do you think Vaun is definitely dead, or do you think he could return next season? What are your thoughts and opinions on this? Please leave your feedback and your comments down below. Let's be respectful and civil of one another's beliefs and opinions, of course. I would love to hear from everybody. What did you think of this season of The Strain? And, would you like to see Vaun return? Because I'm so interested in this because Vaun became my favorite character, and I was very much bummed when I thought I saw him die. And he very well could have, but at the same time, I have a little glimmer of hope that he may have survived. But if he didn't, oh well, I enjoyed his time on the show. But what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts and your feedback down below. I'd love to hear from everybody. Thanks for tuning in here on the EdWord for all of your episode review and recap needs, and of course your movie and TV news updates and announcements and whatnot. And please also, I hope you're all recovering from this most recent episode of The Walking Dead, as I am. And I know it's open to a lot of debate and discussion right now as to whether or not you know who actually or is still I'm not going into specifics because for those of you who haven't seen the most recent episode of The Walking Dead, I will not inadvertently spoil it for you. So if you haven't seen it yet, I advise you to watch it right now before you have it ruined for you and before you see it for yourself, because it's quite an episode. Great episode. Shocking but great. Also, to stay tuned for the season 3 of The Strain, which is set to premiere in July of 2016 this summer. And stay tuned for more. Stay subscribed for all of your announcements and news updates regarding The Strain season 3. Thanks again for tuning in tonight, guys, and have a great rest of the night. And of course, until next time, may the force be with you.